Well, hi YouTubers, I'm back with the other of the Phoenix Harbour 100 books that I've been reading in Malta. Flying home today. Now also, I've just been outside for a smoke. My sunglasses are reactions, so they may go a bit clearer as I'm talking. And yeah, so Tilth, A Modern Fairy Tale by Holly Black. This is interesting, because I've read this book before. I've read this book. This book was first published in 2004, 2005. I think it's when I read this. I read this book about 13 years ago and I really, really enjoyed it. You know, and all the times I've done my book reviews, this has never happened. I've read this with a feeling of deja vu. And then by page 100, I tweet, oh my God, I've read this book before. So, I know, let me read the blurb, okay? Kay used to see fairies. They're still there, but Kay is not a child anymore. She's 16. She's dragged into the thick of their dangerous, frightening world, a realm where black horses dwell beneath the sea, desperate to drown you, where the sinister Thistle Witch divines dark futures, where the beautiful fairy knights are driven to perform acts of brutal depravity for the love of their uncaring queens. There, Kay finds herself in an unwilling pawn in an ancient power struggle between two rival fairy kingdoms, a struggle that could end in her death. Ooh, I know. Now, urban fantasy is kind of like very, very common then, but when this book came out, no. I think this is one of the first that really kind of embraced urban fantasy. The same way that, I guess, The Lost Boys, the film, kind of capitalised on urban vampires. They weren't mysterious or, you know, sparkly glowing. They were literally lost boys stuck in this, I think it was Pasadena. And this is a really interesting book because everyone in this book is a total arsehole, including Kay. Kay is 16 years old, she smokes, she drinks, she steals. She is a school dropout because her mum is in the band. And, well, the way it starts says everything you need to know about Kay. I love this opening. It's just a prologue, it goes you straight into it. Kay took another drag on her cigarette and dropped it into her mother's beer bottle. She figured it'd be a good test for how drunk Ellen was. See if she would swallow a butthole. They were up on stage still, Ellen and Lloyd and the rest of Step and Razor. It had been a bad set, and watching them break down the equipment, she could see that they knew it. It didn't really matter. The sound system was loud and scratching. Everyone had kept drinking and smoking and shouting. She doubted the manager minded. There'd even been a little dancing. Straight away you're thrown into Kay's world. Kay is at the bottom end of society. She is with a mother who is just indifferent. Kay dropped out, hasn't been to school in 2 years. She's working full time at a Chinese restaurant to get money because her mother is so feckless and useless and is chasing this dream of stardom and playing these stupid places. And to basically, Kay keeps matchbooks of every place that they've been to. She has over 100 in her collection. 100 times to capture your dreams of being a rock god. And her mum is actually really obnoxious. Her mum's the kind of person, again, who destroyed one of her LPs because she didn't like that whore of a singer. Her mum is very jealous and entitled and a bit of a bitch, actually. Anyone in this book is an arsehole. I've got to admit, that's really, really original. This book swears quite a bit. I mean, for young adult, I won't class this as young adult. This is more about the 16, 17-year-old bracket. My niece and son are 13. No, when she's 16 though, I think she would enjoy this, but not at 13. But it turns out, I love this. Now the thing is, the moment you describe Kay's described, you can kind of tell because she is blonde, okay, but she looks Japanese. Unusual trait, and straight away, maybe because I've read this one feeling deja vu, she's a changeling, she's a pixie, okay? It didn't even come as a shock, okay? And when she finds this out, it is really funny. She's given advice, okay, by Robin on how to not to do, and she does it straight away to kind of, maximise her power, reveal her true powers. But the thing is, being Fae, things that, metal is toxic, she can no longer smoke, the whole world is hell to her, but she did it anyway, because she doesn't listen to advice. because she's just a bit of an idiot, really. I love this. But this bit I love. This is page 102, okay? A pixie. The word sounded so frolicky. It made her smile. Though to think of being magical, of having wings, like Lootie. Lootie's a fairy. As you used to see fairies, Lootie Loo was one of the fairies she saw when she was young. Her stomach clenched when she thought about her mother, though. Her mother, whose hair she fished out of the toilets, who dragged them from apartment to apartment and from bar to bar, following some distant dream. Her mother, who once broke one of Kay's favourite LPs because she was sick of listening to that talentless whore. Her mother, who had never told her she was weird, had always encouraged her to think for herself, stood up for her, and never ever told her she was a liar. What would her mother think if she realised that her daughter wasn't the girl she'd lived with for 16 years? No, Ellen's baby had been boosted by quick-fingered elves. It was just too fucked up to dwell on. And believe it or not, Kay doesn't really dwell on it. The fact is that she was swapped to birth with the real Kay, if you will. And it's kind of indifferent. Most stories would have been like, let's swap us back. Let me actually meet true Kay, and who's been living for 16 years in this fairy kingdom, okay? Bit indifferent. Kay is so indifferent. Kay is one of these, like, okay, her friend Courtney, or Cornelius, he is, this bit here, honestly, okay, I want to give, this bit here, okay, I want to give Holly Black a goddamn, if I make you, I'm buying you a cocktail just for this bottom line, this is genius, this is the best thing ever, okay. Her friend Courtney, Cornelius, brother to her friend Janet, okay. Alright. There we are. She looked up at Corny and held out the book. Let me guess, this is Shonen A. He shot a glance from her from the computer and she couldn't miss his smug expression. Yeah. Kate wasn't sure what to say to that, which was probably the point. You like boys? There's a technical term for it, Corny said. Faggot. I know those are mightily pretty boys. Does Janet know? Yeah, the whole family knows. It's not a big deal. One night I said at dinner, I said, Mum, you know that forbidden love that Spock has for Kirk? Well, me too. It was easier for her to understand that way. It sounded like he was daring Kay to say something. Now that automatically dates the book. There's only really two things that date this book. One is talking about dial-up to get the internet, okay, life before Wi-Fi was invented. Yes, trying to connect to the internet before Wi-Fi was a bit of a nightmare. And actually using the word faggot in a book, even if he kind of described themselves, okay, that doesn't normally happen. There's a technical term for it, faggot. I like that Corny's very indifferent, but at the same time, Corny, I'll put his book down, it kind of gets sucked off to the fairy kingdom, if you will, and it's pretty much made a bitch to a fairy knight. And I like the fact that for a lot of portion of the book, Casey's forgetting about him. It kind of flashes to him essentially being a bitch to a fairy, okay, which is one thing I thought I'd never say out loud. But that's one thing I like about this book is the arseholeness of the characters is consistent, and Kay is she is a bit of an arsehole at times. Pretty much forget about it. It's like, oh my god, Courtney, he's underground. I'm like, do you just remember now? Okay, so Kay, who has been ignorant of her entire lineage, if you will, or entire life, is suddenly fussed between the Sealy cord and the unsealy cord, and she's the one in the middle, trying not to become a sacrifice, with this fae she saved called Robin, or Robin Wright, I do believe, okay, and it kind of like, how do you get from this to this, but it's really, really good. When she actually meets the fairy queen now, okay, I like this. Kay stopped walking when she saw the woman. She could scarcely remember to breathe. She was the most beautiful thing Kay had ever seen. Her skin was flawless. Her hair shone brightly as copper in the sun under a woven circlet of ivy and dogwood blossoms. Her eyes were as bright as the green apples that hung near them. Kay could not just glance at the fairy woman. Her eyes were drawn to look until the fairy took up her totality of her vision, rendering all else dull and faded. But no need to tell her that this was the Queen of the Seelie Court. So, Kay's actually quite smart. I mean, she knows a lot about fays, having seen them since she was little. But she is, honestly, just had to grow up too quickly. And I like this kind of juxtaposition because, obviously, urban fantasy is so common now. Back then it wasn't. This world where people live in trailers, where people have no money, where people smoke and drink and get GEDs and drop out of schools and thieve. That was quite revolutionary back in the early turn of the millennium. So Holly Black was really onto something. Holly Black also wrote the Spiderwick Chronicles as well, which I haven't read, but I've seen the film. I enjoyed it. So yeah, so I like this book just the way it kind of juxtaposes the world of the fairy kingdom with our world, and they're both shit. I mean, when it comes down to it, get down with the politics. It's kind of like, the fays are arrogant because they're fays, but at the end of the day, they're no different. If you want to sacrifice up an innocent 16-year-old who had no idea of her true lineage until a couple of hours earlier, you kind of deserve what you get. Now, I liked one thing. I won't read it out, but I liked the juxtaposition of Kay actually revealing her true powers, revealing her true skin, her wings, her glamour has been put on her all her life, dropping. So this now. Well, I remember reading this or hoping for a sequel, and actually is one called Ironside, which I'm going to get hold of and review as well, because now I'm curious. I'm really curious. So I do recommend this book. Old part of the young adult. I wouldn't even call it young adult, to be honest. But it is really, really good. It's original, it's gritty, it's kind of far-fetched in places, but also quite realistic as well, to plight this young woman. So, I generally enjoyed Tithe by Holly Black. Recommended. So, it's the Think Inside 100 books from Malta, and I'm signing off here, and bye now. See you soon.